Hello everybody, my name is Rob Scott from UC Today, and today we're going to talk about video collaboration, the state of the market, the current trends, and how channel partners can get the best from bringing video into their portfolios. So today I'm joined by a really interesting panel of speakers. We've got Jason Martin, who's President and CEO of Iomart. We've got Scott Goodwin, founder of Gather, and we've got Dean Manzouri, Chief Technology Officer at Univoip. So welcome everybody.
Thanks, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
For having us.
Great stuff. So I'd like to start with some bios, quick intros if possible. So over to you, Jason. Could you give us a little understanding of who you are, what you do, and your influence in the collaboration sector?
Yeah, so my name is Jason, and I'm the head honcho here at Iomart, which is primarily a software development shop. We work on cloud-based systems, really to service the channel, people like Scott and Dean, whom we work with. And our focus is really bringing a lot of the latest collaboration technologies to the channel so that they can have a really compelling offering for their customers. We're based here in Toronto. We also have people really around the world, but we have another office in Los Angeles as well.
Great, thanks, Jason. Scott, would you like to do a quick intro?
Hi, I'm Scott Goodwin. I'm the founder of Gather. Gather is a wholesale collaboration platform specifically targeted at the channel, helping them access this technology in a kind of frictionless manner, helping them defend their core proposition, which is usually around a VoIP technology from, I guess, an ever-increasing threat around platform providers, 8x8, RingCentral, Amazon, those kind of guys.
Great stuff. Thanks, Scott. And over to you, Dean.
Yeah, thanks. So my name is Dean Manzouri. I'm CTO at Univoip. We are a unified communication service provider, and one of our products includes video collaboration. Our target market is primarily enterprises, and we sell direct today, although we do have plans with new products to start an indirect channel practice as well. I've been in this industry for longer than I'd like to admit. In my previous life, I co-founded a company called Broadcore, which was acquired by Masergy, and I've been here at Univoip for the past 8 months, and things are really looking up in terms of the state of the market and the new products, such as an Iomart product that we're going to market, and in fact we launched yesterday. We're seeing a lot of success in that.
Perfect, thanks, Dean. And so I'd like to just kick off the conversation around video being the new voice, and why video, why now? So could you give us a little perspective? I'll start with Jason on this, if you don't mind. What's your perspective of the market, the growth, the deals that are happening, and why is there such an appetite for video?
I think the appetite is coming from just the general advance of society to include video in day-to-day products. So if you look at except for you, Rob, the rest of us are older fellas, and we look at the younger generation. They're very, very focused on like YouTube videos and vlogs and podcasts with videos. They get a lot of their information visually, and they get a lot of their information through a communication medium that's about visual communication through a video mechanism like this one. Tools like FaceTime have really revolutionized the way people talk to each other over long distances, and that's starting to infiltrate the workplace as well. So whereas our generation would have been very comfortable with an idea of having a conversation with somebody that you couldn't see, I think now a lot of the information that's encoded in that kind of communication, visual communication, is now a big part of the business environment. And you really have a choice these days. You can have a video call, or you can meet in person, or you can communicate by text and email. People don't really like having these audio only conversations anymore, and I think that technology really needs to keep up with that stuff. So we're seeing a lot of pure PBX and the providers who invested on cloud technology, thinking that that's very advanced and that's that's very competitive. And we're finding now that as younger people and as the business environment, younger people come into the business environment and the business environment advances, that it's not enough to just have PBX in the cloud. You need to add not just video, but also productivity tools around that. So, things that will, aid the overall communication. So transcript engines, whiteboarding, smart search functionality, a lot of the collaborative technologies that we have as well. So it's not just video in itself, but it's video plus, communication support tools, I would say, and collaboration is probably a more common term for it. But that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, that's a really, really key point. It's not just video, but it's all part of the package, isn't it? That UC as a service package, or just the UC package itself. Just over to Scott. What's your perspective of the marketplace, especially this year? Let's look at this year. I mean, what are you feeling? What's that vibe?
Yeah, so I'd echo much what Jason said. You're seeing greater adoption of video services, again, originating within, I guess, a much more youthful market. I guess late adopters or older people are late adopters of this type of technology, but you're also starting to see changes in behavior just in the way that we communicate within the business environment. So when you look at the amount of minutes being generated just through normal voice traffic, they're starting to fall away. You're seeing conversations now becoming an invitation rather than anything else. I rarely now call people on the fly. And again, this is much echoed across the industry as a whole, is that you tend to arrange meetings with people or to arrange to have phone calls. Productivity is a very important part of the business process. Now that you're effectively sending invites, what you tend to find is you have the opportunity then to be able to create a video meeting, and video meetings are far more intimate. You get a better feel for how your words are being received by the people that you're speaking to, and vice versa. As Jason said before, you get a lot of good collaboration capabilities. The technology itself is extremely robust now. It's frictionless to access. It's just one click and then you tend to go. So it's a number of different things, Rob, that is inviting greater traction around this technology, and they're all coming to bear. And I think this year you're going to start to see explosive growth on it. It's going to become kind of table stakes, I think, for any UC provider, is they're going to have a strong video element to it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Certainly, it's a good phrase, isn't it? Table stakes, but it describes what really video is in organizations nowadays. Yes, certainly where we're going.
It's got to scale. It's got to be easy to access. It's got to be able to tap into other value-added capabilities as well. I know you're recording this call. That can obviously be used to then disseminate information further. We utilize technology that allows us to transcribe what is only being said, so you can keep a historical and contextual record of everything that's being said in these meetings as well. So again, huge benefits to businesses in many different things. And I think we're just at the start of it. I think we'll talk later on about where it's going, and things like empathy analysis and stuff like that, which is very, very, very interesting in terms of where the market's leading.
Yeah, certainly a lot of innovation in the marketplace right now. So, Dean, over to you. And in terms of, you've got a slightly different outlook because you sell direct to customers. So you really know what those end customers are asking for. And what's your perspective of the marketplace right now?
So, I consider myself a knowledge worker who's also really a customer. If I can't use a product, then I can't expect my customers to use it. So one of the things that we've done here is at Univoice, we have a host account for every one of the employees here at Univoice. And I can tell you, I still have a phone, but over 90% of my communications with customers in the past couple of months has been through our own product, which is based on Iota. And it's, for me personally, it's ease of use. I can't change behavior. I still need to communicate with customers. I still need to have good quality audio, right? I may want to hide my video, but I still need to have good quality audio. I still need to be able to connect with customers easily, and perhaps easier than dialing a phone number, right? It's a lot easier to, when I'm scheduling a call, to send somebody a link. And I'm finding that more and more people have devices, whether it's a PC or mobile device, they have access to a camera and a screen. And knowledge workers are increasingly finding how easy it is to actually connect to this. We are having this video call right now. We didn't have any problems this morning calling in. We were very confident. I called in like a couple of minutes before because I'm like, it's routine, there's nothing different. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, this was completely different. This would have been an exercise, right? Do we have the right, microphones? Do we have the right cameras? But all of those things seem to be a non-issue today. And that's why I think the market is just so ripe for a solution like this. More and more customers, enterprise customers, are using their cell phone. They don't really need a desk phone, but they still need to collaborate. And I think a tool, a video conferencing tool like this is what's the market has been looking for.
So in terms of collaboration providers, they've made it very, very straightforward to consume video from the cloud, haven't they? And I'd just like to kind of go on to kind of the channel discussion around how service providers and resellers are offering these services, and what's the state of the marketplace like there. So in terms of, are cloud PBX providers, for example, investing in video? Are they bringing those into their stack? So Jason, what's your perspective of the market, the channel marketplace?
Well, there are some competitive pressures coming in for the whole channel. Zoom, RingCentral, Cisco. There's consolidation of products. There's kind of a retraction that those companies have from their partner programs, where they're restricting the type of white label that's available, and the types of value propositions you can offer to customers. BroadSoft, which is a very popular provisioning tool, has been acquired by Cisco. That was 2 years ago now, and the impact is being fully felt now. So there's, in the channel space, there is a casting about for some alternatives, competitive alternatives to a RingCentral offering or to a WebEx offering, to pick up the pieces from what Citrix has left behind. What is LogMeIn doing these days? How do I compete with FaceTime and Facebook's product? And what we've been trying to respond to is the demand people have for some of those fundamental pieces that have been sort of left behind by the bigger players. So, a more contemporary and sophisticated session management tool, so that, in a video call like this, that could include, other people, or it could just be a person-to-person call. How do we maintain the level of quality that we're seeing, so that, if somebody's in Australia and somebody's in the United States and somebody's in France, how do we maintain that level of quality? And so we have to maintain a network. So we have to have a network that can be used by our customer base. What sort of features and functionality do we have for the customer base that they're going to appreciate, the end user? So, like, what are the communication tools? What are the collaboration tools? How are they going to get value out of the meeting records that are going to be generated by people talking to one another? So we have to have a very rich feature set that's available for people in the channel to make their own offering out of the pieces that we can give them. And then the last piece is, what are some of the bits and bobs that no one really thinks about but are absolutely critical, such as I want to have a shopping cart where I don't have to talk to my customer, and I just provide a white labeled shopping cart, and they tick off what the pieces are that they want to include in their account, and that just is automatically provisioned to them, and their permissions are granted. The single sign-on works. They can share things across their instance of Slack. There's a lot of that customer provisioning stuff and kind of user management that we've built in our product that can not only give you a positive experience to offer to your end users, but also get your end users onto the platform through a very easy onboarding mechanism. And then there'll be reliable, robust features that are backed up by a strong network to support that experience so that it's very positive. So that's essentially our whole business model is trying to help the channel to maintain its position, maintain service to its customers, because I don't think that a lot of enterprises want to necessarily go direct to Zoom or direct to WebEx and lose that relationship that they've got with the channel. So we think that the channel, companies like Scott and Dean really ought to focus on customer service and strategizing with the customer about how their own collaboration, their own productivity internally within their business is augmented by the tools that are provided, and they shouldn't have to worry about some of the fiefdom wars that we're fighting out here in the industry. We're just here to help, and the channel's here to help, and all of us should be focused on the customers. I think the big players who are going after market share right now, they're not as much focused on the customers. They're very focused on just gaining market share at any cost and not necessarily providing a tailored and effective solution to the customers.
Yeah, that's really interesting about adding it into the portfolio. And I suppose as a channel partner, you don't want to give away that customer or that margin to another provider. So let's go on to ask Scott on this one. Scott, you decided to take on Iotum technology for your Gather solution.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about that journey for you and how that started and why you ended up choosing Iotum.
Well, it was a genuine recognition, I think. Again, a bit like Dean, been in the industry a long time, owned my own Broadsoft Cisco solution, sold out in 2015 on that. You were starting to see essentially an evolution within the market where you were getting large technology companies with vast pockets, very well funded, building platforms, similar to the kind of Facebooks of this world or the Amazons of this world. And they were starting to effectively kind of extend their reach and their visibility of their brand in the process. And when you look at the channel can access this technology, but it starts to me to seem to be the thin end of the wedge, that you could deliver this solution, but it had Cisco's brand on it, it had 8x8's brand on it, it had somebody else's brand on it. And that to me seemed to be a shaky position as well. And I think also the way that knowing that this new video technology was about to arrive, knowing that there was going to be a rise in adoption of collaboration capabilities as well, you started to kind of draw the dots together, which is if you could provide a collaboration service that would be completely white labeled as the channel partner, so Gather as myself becomes invisible essentially, but then allows these service providers to be able to trade like they are these large telecoms or IT giants, where they can deliver these platforms in frictionless ways, and more importantly, in innovative commercial model ways. So at Gather, we try to enable our our service providers to deliver a Gather offering under their brand, and even offer it to their end users on a freemium basis. And they can introduce collaboration to their customers. They can defend their customer bases and start to acquire much more customers in a frictionless manner in the way that large organizations do. They just sign up on Zoom's technology. You can just sign up for free. There's enormous amounts of constraints around what that free service is, but it's essentially done there because it's a way to gather the data. They can deliver on a very basic service. They can suck you in and then start to bring you down a digital low-cost journey where they will monitor your behavior, they'll interact with you via a digital media of one kind or another, they'll encourage you to use more and more parts of that service. Now, when you look at the channel as a whole, it just doesn't operate like that. They're still, in the main sending people out with PowerPoint slides and presentations and doing long arcs of sales cycles, all of which is becoming more and more expensive. And what I'm attempting to do is to be able to bring that intelligent thinking in a way that can be delivered in a pragmatic, low barrier access method that will really add value to the channel and defend themselves from what are becoming quite, high resources, very, very well funded businesses that are starting to go direct to the end user, and the channel's becoming more and more disintermediated in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And coming from a comms reseller background personally, I could imagine selling phone systems, for example, and say I'm still selling phone systems. I don't want my customers going direct to another video conferencing vendor.
Oh,
ultimately, I do want to offer that within the portfolio, because that could end up losing that customer because that collaboration provider provides a phone service too. So
yes.
I imagine it's fraught with challenges in the channel.
And make no mistake, Rob, that's the direction of travel that these large IT services platforms are on, is that, and most of them have got form on disintermediating their channel partners as well. So,
what? There's one other thing I'd say to that, just adding on top of that, Scott, is that it's the Microsoft model, isn't it? I mean, like they're really looking to get you into the cult and completely dominate all of the choices that you've got, so that there is no differentiation between different businesses. So it's almost like there's democracy on one side, and then there's the Microsoft model on the other one. And what I think we're all on is solidly on the side of choice and variety and diversity of your technical platform within your business. And then there's Microsoft. If a customer's got Microsoft, it's almost like they've eliminated any choices that they may have.
Yeah, from a product extension perspective, local service providers have thrived for 30 years because they understand their customers better than anybody else. And and as such, we provide them a platform that can deliver a highly capable technology solution under their brand, which they can add to as well. And then what we've done is a lot of the heavy lift thinking about creating and integrating digital marketing capabilities that lower their cost of sale, that bring future prospects to them, and reduce their cost of sales, which again is what you need to be thinking. I think the modern day service provider has to think beyond just technology and about what is the business model of the partners that they're representing and what are their threats that they are involved in on a day-to-day basis, and try and solve both, which is what we're attempting to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting, isn't it? Dean, let's talk about your journey to video collaboration. Where did it start, and what kind of choices did you have to make along that path to arrive at where you are today?
So I've actually had some experience, again, in my previous life, launching a video collaboration product, which wasn't very successful. And the reason for that was primarily it was early stage development, and it wasn't very easy to use. And I think that the market wasn't really ready for it full on. I think that the market climate is entirely different. We had to be looking at a product that we would offer directly from us, our customers. Regardless of what technology we use in the background, we are the face of technology to our customers, right? It's Univoip, no one else, right? It's our responsibility. It's one back to Pat, essentially, and so we were seeing the market asking for for a video collaboration tool for some time. In fact, we were shut out of some opportunities because our competitors are offering, off-the-shelf video products that sometimes they would throw in for free as a teaser, and so it was a survival thing for us in the beginning. But now, the indirect business that it brings us is one thing, but I'm really looking at the direct business and the revenue that it is capable of generating on its own is also very interesting. So there's really two aspects from a revenue perspective. There's indirect revenue because we get to capture the deals that we would have otherwise lost, and the direct revenue because we're getting some traction for people just wanting this specific services. It's got to be easy to use and a frictionless sales process. But I also want to go back to something Jason just mentioned, and it's what is the goal of a service provider? So I can tell you that if you distill everything down from a Univoice perspective, there are really just four high-level goals. There is deliver customer delight. That's our number one goal. Everything else that we do, any other objectives that we have, any KPIs has to go to one of these four. So one of them is deliver customer delight, deliver productivity, and sell value. Productivity, that's the number two thing that we do. We want to be the best place to work. That's our number three goal. Because if you don't have happy employees, you don't have happy customers. And also we want to meet and exceed industry growth rates. Those are our four goals. So the number one thing is customer delight. We aren't throwing boxes or it's more of a consultative sales approach. What problem are we trying to solve? And this solution helps us solve problems that we are seeing our customers present to us.
So as a service provider, why did you choose Iotum over maybe just reselling, or even just, I believe there's even affiliate kind of agent packages out there where you could just, send a customer over to one of the big providers, for example, and just earn a commission. Why did you choose Iotum? Are there key differentiators with the Iotum package that you would say may helped you make that decision?
The most important thing is that this is our product. Again, we are the face of technology to our customer, right? They're not buying from XYZ, Microsoft, Cisco, or whoever. They're buying from Univoice. And with Iotum, we really got the ability to deploy a technology that's backed in the background by, very experienced engineers, judging from, what we've deployed, working on it for the past 6 months. It's a great product, and it's delivered from a Univoice brand, which is really important for us because, again, we want to be the face of technology to our customers, and Iotum helps us do that.
Great, so that makes sense. I think the ability to bake it into your portfolio,
exactly,
with your brand on it, and you're obviously first line support, so you're maintaining those relationships. Yeah, that's really interesting. Sorry,
it adds value, right? It adds value and productivity, which is our second goal.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to delight customers, you need to provide that customer service, and if they're flying all over the place, having to deal with issues, I imagine that's a fairly negative experience. So, yeah, that's really interesting. Jason, you were just going to mention something there.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I mean, obviously, we're very happy that Dean selected us, but one of the reasons why I think that people like what we offer is that we act as like an external R&D department. Like, Iotum was the first company in the world to commercialize a WebRTC service with Cauliflower. like TMC.net said back in 2018 that we were beating Cisco and Zoom, specifically beating out the big boys by being the first company to offer an AI meeting assistant for business use. Like that kind of innovation is really appealing to people. So I think that's one reason. It's very difficult to catch up if you haven't already got an R&D department working very diligently on the latest technologies. I think the second thing is we give people a lot of flexibility. It's a really good toolkit. So what we've built can be molded, not like Twilio where you have to set a bunch of engineers on it, but just by flicking some switches and making some choices, you can put together a really compelling offering for your customers. So that's very functional for people. And I think the last thing is our reviews are really good, right? I mean, like G2 Crowd calls us a high performer. Trustpilot gives us a high rating. The reviews are good. Business.com gives us a good review. Best video conferencing service reviews 2019. So we've got a good track record. It's a lot of innovation, and there's a lot of flexibility there. So it's a better alternative to something like a Plivo or a Twilio where you have to, and those are great products, by the way. I don't mean to denigrate them, but you have to put a lot of effort in to produce a product with the toolkit they have, whereas ours is more of a turnkey CPaaS that you just configure.
Got it. And I think this leads me nicely on to my final question. I think you maybe have covered a few of these kind of top tips here, really, but I wanted to finish the session on just kind of what top advice would you give partners, channel partners, resellers, service providers looking for a collaboration solution, a video conferencing solution in the cloud? Can we just do a quick round table and just jump in there with what top tips you would say, or things to look for I
don't mind going first, Rob.
Go for it.
I would seek to find a partner that, particularly when I'm looking at the channel, that understands the channel and understands the complexities that the channel is currently facing. So, as I say, that isn't just about the delivery of a highly competent video platform that has all of the various different plugins and table stakes in terms of technology. It has that demonstrable track record and the right partners behind itself, like our friends in Canada here. But they must understand the channel, and they must understand and bring value to the channel over and above the discrete product itself. So how will your partner educate you on how to address particular discrete vertical markets? Will they show you how to do that? Will they create the innovation at a native level to you so they can plug their own value added and their own IP into it, make it special and defendable from themselves? And I think those are the key things that I would seek if I was a service provider in the channel seeking to bring video into my portfolio. I would want somebody that can bring not just the technology, but the how-to guides as well, to be able to maximize that at a commercial offer that makes sense.
Yeah, so really a strategic partner ultimately.
Yeah.
Not just a tech vendor. Yeah, got it. That's great. Dean, what would you say, being that you've done it maybe more than once? I'm sure you could give us a couple of golden nuggets.
I think for service providers, they need to use the product themselves. You cannot, I'm a firm believer that a service provider cannot sell a service that they don't themselves use. Up and down the organization, they have to believe that it delivers productivity, and it does. It has to be reliable. They have to be using it on a daily basis. And Iotum has been all of those for us. We've been using it internally, and once you've got your frontline folks that are talking to customers because they called for solving an issue, they can just tell them, hey, look, why don't you just join my room, even if you're just viewing my screen, right? But they can experience that for themselves. If we can use it productivity, then I'm sure our customers can too. So I strongly urge any service provider that wants to get into this market, start using it, and making sure that everyone in your organization can be more productive before you go to market with it.
Great stuff. Thank you. And finally, Jason, what do you think? Anything else to add on? I know you mentioned a few bits there, but number one top tip, what would you say?
Well, I think it's a two-parter, because I think you're at a decision point. I think the choice to add video is to set aside your own brand or to white label it. That's really the question. If you're going to set aside, then you've got to be willing to also lose some customers to Zoom or WebEx or whoever it is that you choose, because you want to lend your credibility off to a Cisco or a Zoom or a Ring Central, where you've given it to somebody else. If you choose to white label it, then what we've discovered over the past several years that is not obvious at first is that it's relatively straightforward to create an application with some functionality, but it's very difficult to have that operating on a global basis in a network that works. So there's a whole effort that we're constantly going through here to tune the network and keep up with the latest changes that happen in routing and the latest changes that happen at endpoints, and battling with the last mile problem. And that is not obvious at first. So one of our newer partners we're working with, replacing a solution that they bought previously and white labeled, and it just has it's only the front end. It's just a WebRTC tool, and they don't have any network service behind it. And we put a lot of time, effort, money, and tears into ensuring that we've got a strong, robust MPLS that can be used to make your brand dependable and that you could be proud of. It's not perfect, but nobody's perfect. It's just that what you want is somebody who's trying to make it perfect, trying to make the network perfect. It's not just all about the software.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't afford to get it wrong, can you, with video? It's a bit like voice, but even more sensitive in terms of if you do put video into a network.
Yeah, more intimate relationship. I mean, so you're quite right, Rob. If it's if you expose more of yourself in this process, so when it becomes poor, it fails more proportionately.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So I'm gonna wrap this up now. It's been a really fascinating session today. Some great market insights, some great tips in terms of helping channel partners and service providers bake video into their portfolio. So Jason, Scott, and Dean, thank you very, very much.